Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on the birth of Merlin, and we get to hear from Merlin today in Act 4, Scene 5, but we just finished Act 4, Scene 1, so we have a lot to get through before we actually get to today's monologue. So real quick recap, Merlin was born a full-grown adult, and he has the gift of prophecy, like more so than anybody else ever has, and the Saxons are planning to they're plotting a conspiracy against the Britons in which Artesia is going to play a pivotal role, and both the Britons and the Saxons are on their way to Wales to try to get Vortiger on their side, even though neither side really likes him because he had killed the previous king and all this sort of stuff. So Vortiger had actually sort of been banished to Wales to become the Welsh king, and he's been trying to build this castle that all the work they do during the day is undone at night. And Merlin was like, well, it's because there's these two dragons that are living in a cave underneath and they're warring, but really there's a white dragon and there's a red dragon, and the white dragon scares away the red dragon, and by the way, you're the red dragon and you're gonna lose in this whole thing. So at the end of Act 4, Scene 1, Vortiger was like, all right, we're going to fortify our troops and be ready for whatever comes. So in a very sort of Shakespearean way, even though this play may or may not have actually been written by Shakespeare, the rest of Act 4, or at least the next few scenes, are sort of quick, rapid fire. This is happening at this point in the battlefield. This is happening at this place on the battlefield. So Act 4, Scene 2, Scene 3, and Scene 4 are all really quick, just little sort of battlefield snippets. So hopefully it won't take us too long to get through them, though there are some important things that happen in those before we get to Act 4, Scene 5. So Act 4, Scene 2, we've got Ulthar, we've got Edal, we've got Edwin, we've got a whole bunch of Britons, and they come in, and Ulthar's like, oh, let's just rest for a second. And Edal's like, I'm sorry, I have a king that I have to go kill because he wants to kill Vortiger, and he's like, I gotta go do this. And a Welsh messenger enters, and Edal's like, you want to go? Like, he's ready to take on the messenger. And Ulthar's like, let's hear what the messenger has to say. Let's hear what Vortiger's terms are. And Edal's like, seriously? Are there any terms that Vortiger could offer that would make us not want to kill him in this scenario? And Ulthar's like, good point. So they send the messenger away without even listening to him, and they decide that they're actually going to go to battle. That's at Act 4, Scene 2. Act 4, Scene 3 is somewhere else on the battlefield, and Ulthar has found Vortiger, and they meet and they start to fight. But of course they're talking while they fight. They're basically just talking smack, and how dare you have killed my brother, and all these sorts of things. And Edal comes in and he's like, seriously, you're talking? And so he starts attacking Vortiger himself and attacks Vortiger right off stage. Edal and Vortiger both exit while they're fighting, and Ulthar's like, good luck. And that's the end of Act 4, Scene 3. Act 4, Scene 4 is also pretty quick. It's somewhere else on the battlefield, and we see Cawdor and Edwin, and they're both feeling pretty good about Britain's chances of winning this whole war thing. They're very positive. They think that things are going their way. And Ulthar enters and tells him that Edal has struck down Vortiger, and Vortiger retreated to some castle to try to regroup, but Ulthar is sending in dogs after him, and he's like, well, burn the whole thing down if we have to get him out. Like, we're ending this today. Vortiger's gonna die. And that's the end of Act 4, Scene 4. So, now we're in Act 4, Scene 5, which is where today's monologue is. But some stuff happens before the monologue does. So we're in yet another part of the battlefield, and we've got Ulthar, Edal, Cawdor, Edwin, Toclio, a bunch of others, and there's this thing happening in the sky. They can see this giant, what looks like a dragon in the sky, and it has two flaming snakes coming out of its mouth going in opposite directions, and it has like 7 rays of light coming out of its body going in different places. And they're like, this can't be good, but like, I wonder what this actually means. So like, we probably need somebody who's kind of mystical to tell us what this is all about. Oh, hey, remember there's that Merlin guy who's actually pretty good at predicting the future? Maybe we should get him in here. And no sooner have they said that, but Merlin and the clown enter. So they don't even really need to send for him. He just enters at exactly the right time. And the clown is kind of funny in this scene because he's trying to say some stuff. He's trying to get involved in the conversation, but Merlin just shuts him up, like seals his mouth with magic so that he can't really say anything. So in today's monologue, we're gonna get little tiny snippets of the clown in there as well. We'll have Merlin and we'll have the clown, because it's very simple, and I forgot to bring a hat in with me today to do this. So Merlin and the clown enter, and the clown says some stuff, but like none of it is important, and Merlin ends up just sort of sealing his mouth shut. But Merlin starts to talk about what this thing is in the sky, and he's like, look at that, like, look, I knew that the death of kings was coming, but who knew that he was gonna die so soon? And they're like, and he starts weeping, and they're like, well, you know, why are you crying? Like, if it's Vortiger. And he's like, yes, this indicates the Vortiger died, but more than that, Aurelius also died. Aurelius has been poisoned in his castle by the Saxons, not with a candlestick, by Mr. Green in the study. So not only has Vortiger been killed by Edol from those wounds and everything like that, he like retreated to his own castle and died there, but Aurelius has also been killed back home. This is part of the plot that Artesia was involved in. They poisoned him at home. So Ulthar obviously is very upset about this because Aurelius was his brother, and he's already lost another brother because Vortiger killed him. So he turns to Merlin and he's like, you know, please tell me that there's something in the stars that says that I'm going to get revenge on these horrible, horrible Saxons. And Merlin says, So, now observe, my lord, and there behold, above yon flame-haired beam that upward shoots, appears a dragon's head, out of whose mouth two streaming lights point their flame-feathered darts contrary ways, yet both shall have their aims. Again, behold, from the igniferent body 7 splendent and illustrious rays are spread, all speaking heralds to this Britain isle, and thus they are expounded. The dragon's head is the hieroglyphic that figures out your princely self, that here must reign a king. Those biformed fires that from the dragon's mouth shoot east and west, emblem 2 royal babes, which shall proceed from you, a son and daughter. Her pointed constellation, northwest bending, crowns her a queen in Ireland, of whom first springs that kingdom's title to the Briton kings. But of your son, thus fate and Merlin tells, all after times shall fill their chronicles with fame of his renown, whose warlike sword shall pass through fertile France and Germany, nor shall his conquering foot be forced to stand till Rome's imperial wreath hath crowned his fame with monarch of the West, from whose 7 hills with conquest and contributory kings he back returns to enlarge the Britain bounds, his heraldry adorned with 13 crowns. He to the world shall add another worthy, and as a lodestone for his prowess draw a train of martial lovers to his court. It shall be then the best of knighthood's honor at Winchester to fill his castle hall, and at his royal table sit and feast in warlike orders, all their arms round hurled, as if they meant to circumscribe the world. So this is Merlin explaining what the dragon and all the fire and everything like that is. He's like, just sit back and listen for a second. You are the dragon, and everything that's coming from it is stuff that's going to come from you. So this is important. You need to become the king. You're going to be crowned king now. Aurelius is gone, so you're the king. And you're going to have 2 kids. You're going to have a daughter and you're going to have a son. And your daughter is going to go become queen of Ireland, which she does. We'll get there in a second. And then your son is going to be famous for the rest of time, because he's going to be this great warlike king who ends up uniting kingdoms and bringing everybody back to sit around a round table. And there will be knights around this table. Do you see where we're going here? Uther Pendragon was theoretically the king of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, that whole thing. So this is Merlin telling the story of who King Arthur is going to be, but telling his dad, Uther Pendragon, before Arthur has even been born, but saying, this is going to bring everything together. And he goes on to say that the 7 rays of light that are coming from the dragon's body are, the problems that the kingdom will be facing, but they're not going to be settled until the 7 kings can come together and rule together. So if you want to start thinking Game of Thrones stuff is going to happen, I mean, that's fair. That sort of makes sense. So Uther obviously just got a lot thrown at him, and he's like, well, does it make sense should I go fight the Saxons? Should I pursue and fight the Saxons right now? And Merlin's like, yes, you should. And the rest of them all sort of do like a Hail King Uther Pendragon and let's go to war and fight the Saxons thing. So it's kind of a cool thing, and sorry for the sad little clown bit, but after all this, Merlin lets the clown speak again, and he says some quippy little things. He's not stuck to just having to say in between, make these little noises and grunts and things like that as he's commenting on it. But I don't know, it's kind of cool, I think, to that Merlin is telling the story of who King Arthur is going to be in the middle of this play, like in the middle of this battlefield that they've just been fighting a war, but now it's like Uther has even more to fight for. He's not just fighting for the slaughter of his 2 brothers. He's now fighting for the future of his children and the future of Britain, because he's going to be king and things will go on from there. So, yeah, that's the end of Act 4. And sorry, I told you today was going to be a long one. Tomorrow is also going to be a long one because it's our last one in the birth of Merlin. Amazingly, there's only 1 monologue left to go in this play. So tomorrow we're going to cover all of Act 5 and do a little bit of a wrap up before we move on to the next apocryphal play that we have to cover. But before we get there, let's figure out how this whole thing is going to wrap up. I'll see you tomorrow for that. Mwah.